Can you hear
and
me?
everything perfect.
Okay.
Satnam, everyone. Welcome to Spiritual Nerd Talk. Today we have the super duper uber duper special guest, Mandev, our greatest teacher from the moment. And my co-host Jamila is there, and we will talk all things Mandev, moon centers, moon maps, everything.
We're so excited. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for joining us, Monday. It's such an honor to talk to you. And
Oh my
you have
gosh.
some really exciting new stuff that you just launched. I'm really excited to get into that. And also just, I know there's so many of us that don't know what moon centers even are. So I'd love to just start kind of right at the beginning. If you could share with us like an overview of moon centers, and then we'll dive into, all the exciting things you've created around moon centers to help support learning about them. So yeah, thank you so
I'd
much.
love it too. Just 1 second. I'll bring this a little closer. There we go. Okay, yeah, I'm very excited. Where do you want to start?
Maybe if you could just give us an overview for like the person that's never heard of moon centers, just just a doorway overview into the idea of them and why they're useful to know about.
Yeah, the mood centers, it's basically been a hidden teaching for a long time. And just like at one point, chakras were a very foreign concept, right? Like back in the day, people didn't know what the heart chakra was or the root chakra. The same concept applies with the moon centers. And so what the moon centers are is that a woman, her aura is very unique compared to a man's aura, right? So our energy field is dialed a little bit differently. And so the woman's aura can hold creation, it can hold a child. And so the aura is very, very powerful. And part of that configuration is what's known as the moon centers. And so what the moon centers are, they're basically portals of energy installed inside the female body. Sort of like how we have chakras that are projection centers, the moon centers are portals of lunar forces. And so what happens is you have 11 of them that are inside your body. So it's like the hairline, eyebrows, cheeks, earlobes, lips, back of the neck, breast, clitoris, vagina, inner thighs. Did I miss one? Navel. Okay. And so what happens is every 2.5 days, one of these moon centers is activated at a time. Right. So inside that activation is sorry, we're just trying to get our camera. Okay, inside that activation is a certain behavior or pattern that you express. And so when you're in your hairline, you're maybe be very radiant. That's when you want to take a lot of selfies. You're very outgoing. Your projection's very outward because this hairline area, right? That's the base of the arc line. And the arc line is your radiance, your projection. So that's a very positive moon center. But let's say the moon center of the cheeks, for most women, this is a very powerful moon center, but you exhibit, you cry for no reason, you get upset, you feel very like irrational. That's the cheeks moon center. And so basically every woman through a 28-day period, she expresses each moon center for 60 hours. And so you have a pattern. Every woman has a pattern of the moon centers, and it's a fixed pattern, which I love. A lot of people think it changes every month, but it doesn't. So you've had the same pattern of behavior for your entire life, from a small baby in the womb until now. And so what it's about is if you can figure out what your pattern is and how to use the moon center energy to improve your life, then everything is available to you, because every portal of energy has an infinite amount of energy that you can access. So as women, that's what we're doing, is we're learning to track our pattern and learning how to optimize each moon center to its fullest potential.
Wow, that's awesome. That's very inspiring. The way you explain it, makes it accessible. So thank you. So I want to talk about the apps that you've created You have two now. I think that's really exciting. But I also want to I want to personally understand the portals of the moon centers are connected. Would you say to the broadcast from Earth's moon? Is it, or is it even bigger and more far out astrologically? Or I'm just trying to get more of a sense of that connection between our body, the woman's body, and our body parts. Because I'm like a super material Taurus person. And but maybe I'm thinking of it too concretely. So if you could just explain that a little more, the connection.
Yeah, no. That's so I think of it, my experience has been it's like infinite cosmic energy,
Okay.
which
Yeah.
isn't bound by like an atmosphere and all of that.
Or like
So
even our specific moon
yeah,
necessarily.
no.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
well, there's three streams of energy that dominate the female.
Okay.
There's the lunar force, so the actual moon in the sky. So
Yeah.
you have as a woman, and you know, men too, but more as a woman, you are very much influenced by a full moon, a new moon, 4th day of the moon, 10th day of the moon, 11th day of the moon. And a lot of times your hormonal cycle will be on one of those moons. Okay, so the actual moon in the sky has a big impact on your energy field, right? That's one stream of energy. The second stream of energy that really impacts a woman is the actual hormonal cycle. So it's your hormones, your period. Yeah. All of that. And then third stream of energy, which has been pretty much unknown until all of our work together, has been the moon center energy. So figuring out how your inner moon works and how it projects. So we've been basically running on 2/3 energy, right? And like, and a lot of times the moon centers too, like women get confused, which is very reasonable because you might be on your period and you might think I'm on my period and my inner moon's in my cheeks, but it's really dialing into the different nuances of the energy. And then basically what you learn is you kind of open up your sensory system with this, and then all of a sudden like you can read energy a lot better because you can read it on yourself better. And that's kind of like what the moon centers give you.
Wow. Well, I have so many questions. So I don't want to dominate this question asking Nicole.
Nicole, say something, please. Come on.
I could just keep going here.
Yeah, I think what I would love to know is how did this calling find you to like you put a lot of work in this moon center apps, and now the new app where you can track the moon centers to have a better sexuality, which I find brilliant. I got so many questions from people. They're like, oh, can you ask her, how does this work? Why is it go like, because it's so brilliant. So how did you receive the calling to, you know, amplify this this moon center knowledge and to gather the data for this time?
Yeah, no, I think what inspired me was I first heard about this in maybe 2012. I was at a training and Honey Jeevan had met somebody, and the woman had talked about this. And then I started to look into it further, because one of the things I was always told as a young girl was, oh, you're emotional. You're a girl. You're emotional. And it was almost like I was dismissed a lot because of the emotions. And even back then, that didn't make sense to me. Like that felt wrong being told that. Right. And so oh, you're up and down. When you hear somebody refer to a woman as she's all over the place, that's very much a moon center talk, right? Because your moon's going here, and then 60 hours later, it goes down here, then it goes into the cheeks, then it goes here 60 hours later. So that phrase is referring to a woman being erratic in her behavior because of how the inner moon is moving. Right. And so what inspired me was when I first heard it, I thought like, that's interesting. But then when I researched it, and I'd look up all these, like in the yogic archives, I'd look up what the moon centers are and look in manuals, and it was a cut and paste job from the original teaching. And maybe you guys have seen that.
Mhm.
And so to me, I was like, nobody's really explained it. But what does that mean? Like, I want to know exactly like how you do it, what's on the other side of it, and what does it actually mean? And that wasn't there. Right. And then I started going into it myself and tracking it and realized that there's so much power in knowing what this means, right? And knowing how to track it. There is so much power. So once I kind of realized the power, and then I saw in the programming, like television programming, magazines, everything there was, that there was so much programming subliminally and very consciously against a woman accessing this power. Right. So there's like a lot in the media. Oh, this politician's a woman. She can't be in office because of her emotions. So I started to see how this energy was very much blocked from women activating it because they don't want women to be in their power. And the reason why is the woman's aura is so densely interwoven, it can go massive. And so a lot of times people don't understand what that means. We rattle that phrase off constantly. And the phrase is a woman's aura is 16 times more densely interwoven than a man, right? What does that mean? That means that the female aura is more complex, right? There's more like turns, there's more corners to it. There's more opportunity inside of it because we have the ability to create life. So our aura has added protection inside of it, and it's configured in a very different way, right? Like think of it like a man's aura is like a 1-ply sweater, and a female aura is like an 8-ply sweater, right?
With 24 colors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's just so what I saw is by blocking women of 1/3 of their energetic stream, 1/3, that's a lot, right? You block that, then you block the power of the aura. So the aura is only broadcasting at a lower frequency. And so that's basically what interests me, was kind of undoing that. If somebody tells me I can't do something, I think, I think we can do this. So, and there's a lot of resistance to this particular teaching out there in the collective, I've noticed. But that's why we've been tracking a group of us, and we've been tracking our moon centers now for almost a year, I think. Right. And women have just told me it's changed everything for them.
That's awesome.
That's so interesting. I think it's especially interesting. Like for me, it's always so beautiful to see how there is a certain calling and how someone in the collective, like it could have been anyone, but it was you, lucky for us. So now we have like all these amazing things, and we can like actually like really utilize it, and you make it so much more logical. My favorite phrase of you was, whenever I see a little girl or a baby girl, I'm like, you have 11 moon centers. You have that's my favorite thing.
I do. I tell them all the time. Like I'll be like, oh, the mom's distracted. Hey, you, baby.
You have moon centers.
Track them, girl, track them,
And you're doing that with the Moon Girls now, right? Like a group is starting. That's amazing.
No, I'm really excited because one thing like I realized too is a few things actually. So when you're tracking the moon centers for an adult woman, it's hard because we know our period, our menstrual cycle really well, right? So like you feel a cramp coming on, you're like, period is coming. I have to put supplies in my purse. Like, that cycle really, really well because you have a lot of practice with it, right? But then what gets a little confusing is being able to tell the difference between hormones and moon centers, right? And so when you work with the small girls, if you can teach them the moon centers before their hormonal stream kicks in, it's not an issue for them. They're very much in their power from the beginning. And so working with the girls is very important to me. And so we started Moon Girls, which is we have a group of girls from babies inside the womb, but into 16 years old about. And we'll start playing games with the moon centers, singing songs, and just for them to get to know it and get to know the concept, because we were in Mallorca and this was very powerful. Nicole, you may have been there when this happened, but I was holding a baby who was 7 months old, right? And at the beginning of the week, I'm holding this baby, she can't talk. She's a little baby. I tell her about the moon centers. I explain them to her. And then towards the end of the week, we did class, and then the baby comes back up. And then there's some women around me, and I say to the baby, I'm like, where's your moon center today? And she takes her little hand, touches my lips, and then she touches her lips, which is a moon center. I mean, she knew. And she was just like, it was like that. And so after I saw that, I was like, these little young girls, they know this. And if they can be brought up just knowing about this, and they don't even have to go that deep into it if they don't want to, but just simply knowing that it exists, it will open up so much of their power. And then that way, if they're ever told you're a girl, this is why you're acting like this, they can say, no, that's not right.
That's amazing. I have a story with the baby as well.
Yeah, you do?
I was teaching the moon centers, and my one of my people that were there was a mom, and she was like, she called me a couple of week later, and she said, you know what happened? My son actually tells me in which moon center I am. So what happened was, she was like asking herself, like, oh, what is my moon center? And so he starts to pull her hair back in the hairline here, or he starts to like play with her eyebrow hair, or he starts to play with her belly button. She's like, I think he's showing me. And I was like, I have to tell this to Mandev, because that's not even a girl, it's a boy, but it's one of these, kids that had a 120th day and the 40 days after birth, the mom was staying at home, and like she really did like a lot of yogic. She applied it. This child.
Well, I mean, everything's turned up quite a bit, and the beings coming onto the planet, they're very sensitive. And although I'm working with just the little girls, but it's very important for little boys to understand this too. We'll probably do something with them too, because they need to know how women's energy field works in all areas. And they need to be very respectful of this energy. And moreover, they have to support the movement of the inner moon. And so it's very much just as important for little boys to learn this as little girls.
I love that. That actually kind of speaks a little to another question I had, is it possible for other people like that are really in tune to energy to get a sense of where another person's energy is, like in their moon center? Just curious. On a personal note, like I'm still figuring mine out, so I'm just curious how transparent I am to someone else, but maybe still blocked on my own inner knowing. So I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just very individual, like, I mean, I don't like read somebody like, oh, she's in her lips right now, because there's the chakras, there's the 10 bodies, there's the tattva expression. It's very much you're all of that. And you definitely can tune in, you can dial in, if you'd like, but it takes about a year to kind of track this. It's not something that you just, I mean, maybe these younger kids will know right away, or you can very much go into a trance and figure it out. But it takes about a year. And and also how the moon center expresses itself in the lips in the winter time it might be different in the summertime. So you need about a year. But one lady told me with tracking it, she said what happened for her is her sensitivity just opened up. And she said that when she then became like ovulating on her, the hormonal stream, she could smell her hormones secreting differently.
Wow.
And she's like, the smell was so strong for me, Mandev. And she's like, I got that power from the moon center tracking. I never had that. I'm in my 30s and I've never had that experience.
Amazing.
So very much tuning into the nuances of this really opens up everything for you. everything will just open up. The intuition, how you use the energy, how you pull it in, how you broadcast, everything is just increased.
Okay, that's helpful. That's
love that.
inspiring.
And
Yeah,
can you elaborate a little bit on, you know, when you have the moon centers, like they do their thing anyways, right? But when you consciously, like it's always like when you connect your consciousness with something, it starts to vibrate. It's almost starts to vibrate or fly on a different level. And can you elaborate a little bit how it is for maybe you, or what's the experience that you have when you have the moon centers active and you kind of start to create, for example, like you're a creative, you do these amazing movies and all of that. Can you like then also use the quality of the moon centers for that, because they're giving it in a different way?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. So what I found was, like, when you're tracking your moon centers, first of all, to kind of answer that question, I have to go back and then answer it. But when you're tracking it, there's always going to be one moon center that's very obvious to you. And that's sort of your entry point into the system. So some people, it might be, for me, it was the inner thighs. So when you're in your inner thighs moon center, and it will be about 60 hours, you'll think like you'll want to clean your house, right? And it varies from woman to woman. You might express it differently, but you like, I want to clean out my closets, I clean out the fridge, I catch up on laundry, I like go through the bills, that, right? So that's sort of my entryway into my moon center tracking, because that one's very loud. And then I watch where it moves. And then like from there, 60 hours later, then I might start feeling like, oh, I really want to buy Jamila and Nicole some gifts. I really want to like send them something. I like, want to give a lot. That's the breast moon center, right? So you can go in and start tracking the different behaviors. And you as a woman, you're a combination of all of these added up. And so what happens with women, like they might have cheeks, maybe they're like having a hard time in the navel moon center. So they go from being very upset to insecure, and then maybe their period happens. So they might have several days where they're not feeling right. And then they think something's wrong with them. Like they might think like, oh, I'm not right. But you are right. It's just how the energy is moving through you, right? So once you get to know each one, for me, earlobes is more difficult. That's a very subtle moon center for me. And everybody might have one like that. Like, I'm like, is this my earlobes, or is this like eyebrows? So I'm still very much trying to fine tune that moon center. But what happens is once you kind of know a few of them really well, and like with any portal of energy, you can access it any time. So let's say I'm in my cheeks moon center, right? And let's say I have to go on a photo shoot, or I have to film something. I really want, like, I think, man, I really wish I was in my hairline, because that's very bright and beautiful. I'm not bound by this moon center. I can still be very much in my cheeks moon center, but consciously go up to the hairline moon center, pull that energy and use it, right? It's like putting your hand in a bucket. You have 11 buckets. You can grab whatever you want. So that is a more sophisticated, where we're going to as a collective group, being able to use the energy whenever we want. So that's what we're working towards. And I think that's what you're asking, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you. No, you go.
I mean, it's just so powerful. It's so powerful. And to me, this moon center technology is what feminism is all about.
Oh yeah, totally.
I mean, this is the power everybody's trying to get. And basically, we need women and girls and men to understand it, and then they just vibrate it a different way. But it's really taking the frequency and changing it dramatically, so women have more power. And I just don't buy the concept that a woman's emotional, right? Like that.
I know.
It's
like,
archaic.
that's ridiculous. I find it also like super funny if you go back in history, and to see like how women were like by medicine treated like just 50 years ago, and
No,
what the
even now, even
yes,
now. Yes.
you're right. That they're like, oh, you're in pain, oh, have something.
Well, that's what, like, I did talk to one doctor about this, and she said what happens a lot is that they treat a moon center like, oh, you're feeling upset and emotional, let me give you this. And then now you're feeling insecure and like unstable, let me give you this. And they just stack medications on top of each other, right? And when really, if a woman just realizes, I mean, every situation is different, but if she just realizes, oh, this is just how the energy is moving in me. It's
Yeah.
not me. Like, I'm not the rain in the storm. It's just storming out. There's a difference. And then when you detach yourself from that, from the emotion, that's when the power comes in. And then you think, you know, I feel really upset and irrational and I want to yell at people. It's in my cheeks, and I'm just going to chill out for 60 hours. I'll see you in 60 hours, everybody. Close the door, watch some Netflix, do some meditations, and then it's done. Right. But then what happens is after, like, you get to know that first, then you have the ability, once you're in your, like, this moon center and you feel those feelings, then you have enough energy to switch those feelings. Because, you know, the cheeks, if there's a lot of sadness and irrational behavior, what's the other polarity to that?
Joy.
So the cheeks moon center, most people experience, you know, it's not pleasant, but you can access the other side of it. And that's what we're working towards.
And that's 16 times more, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the most, like, this teaching is like, I love the moon centers. I find it also very interesting for myself. I noticed by myself, I have a little shopping thing. I love things, I'm a Taurus. So what I found out was whenever I'm in my cheeks, I don't get irrational in sense of I yell at people and I get angry or whatever. I'm like, maybe I need a new mala. And so what I need to see is that when I'm in my cheeks, I just need to make sure that I'm not buying anything during that time, because when I'm in there and I buy something, it's super expensive. That's always like that, the 16 times more amplification, which is also super fascinating, you know.
I'm like that in the
funny.
breast. Like, I'm like, let's go shopping.
Oh yeah, let's get something new. That's so beautiful.
That's amazing. That's so good.
Very interesting.
Can the moon centers be blocked?
I don't think so. No.
Not like chakras. So it's a different, it's a different conceptual kind of framework around how it's just a moving energy, that it's not like the chakras spinning and, you know, technically can be blocked. That is really helpful for me to understand.
It's just, you could not be in control of it.
Okay.
Right. But it's like the stream is moving. Right. The
Okay.
stream of water is moving. And I did have one mother and daughter tell me that the daughter's 11 and the mother said, we used to fight a lot, and this has changed our relationship, because now when the daughter gets upset, she'll say, it's in my cheeks. Can we go do something else? And the daughter, and the same concept applies with the mother. The mother will say, it's in my cheeks now. Let's, you know, there's more compassion and understanding. And therefore the relationship improved. And also the mother and daughters will have different patterns. So sometimes people think, oh, I have a twin sister, or I'm pregnant with a baby, a female. We have the same pattern, but every individual is very different.
So it starts in the womb. Do you know if the pattern starts like cycling in the baby in the womb at a specific time, like around the 120th day, or
it's as soon as it becomes female, so right away.
That's
the energy
amazing.
starts moving.
Wow.
And it doesn't change. It can change if there's a very it's rare even in this case, but if there's some big traumatic event in your life, it can change then. But even then, that's rare.
Wow.
But it is possible.
Okay,
Very
that's
fascinating.
And
Yeah.
so you made your mind moon map basically to help women with a framework to track it, right? Maybe you could just talk for those of us that don't know about it.
Yeah. So when I first heard about this teaching, I started tracking it. And for me, writing it down with pen and paper felt like the dinosaur age, like I wasn't doing it because I wouldn't have my notebook with me, and I'm always on the go. And some people, it works great and they should continue to do that. But for me, like, I have my phone with me all the time. So my moon map is an app for women to just have something to go to every day to track it. And then yeah,
Awesome.
it's been helping a lot of people.
And you want to track for a full year using the app, right? To
Yes.
begin to really be sure of the pattern.
Yeah. And basically, you're going into deeper levels of the sensitivity with it. And then I read, I found like if the moon center is on the left side of the navel point, you're very, 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 you can be, this isn't definite, but you can be very, very irrational compared to the right side. So each moon center has different nuances and they're very unique to you.
Gotcha.
Each person. And so my moon map is very much a general broad stroke for each moon center, but women might find very different things that are happening to them. That's why we have inner moon circle, which is a group, so we can learn from each other. So like Jamila might be like, when it was in my earlobes, I felt this, and I think, oh, maybe I can tune into that. Maybe what she experienced can help me. So that's why it's really important that we share what we're going through so we can learn collectively together.
Yeah, and we build a collective against the collective that is against the moon centers.
Yeah, exactly.
As well.
Yes.
Which is so interesting. I have another question. So for the new app that you brought out, can you elaborate a little bit on what is it about, or why should everybody have it? Because I think it's brilliant.
No, it is brilliant, I have to say. And so this is Moon Me Lover.
Yeah, we can see it. Amazing.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And so what it is, so there's tracking the moon centers, which is one teaching, right? And there's 11 moon centers, but there's a yogic teaching around stimulating and activating the moon centers before sex or before intercourse. And so that's with the 9 moon centers. So you track with 11, but before intercourse, you use 9. That's the teaching. And so if you stimulate them in a certain order, it's like typing in a secret code. What happens is it opens up this deeply, this just like magnetic, energetic space opens up. Right. And so both people in the sexual exchange will really benefit from the energy field, because what happens with women in intercourse is because our auras are different, right? There becomes a lot of sexual exchanges. There can be like a feeling like I don't feel complete afterwards, or like something's missing right from that. And so what happens is there can be a frustration that builds inside a woman without us necessarily knowing it, right? Because our auras weren't handled the way that they should have been handled, right? Because the moon centers didn't get stimulated. So when you stimulate them in this specific order, it creates this big, almost like this tantric sexual space opens, right? And both people very much enjoy it. And so that's what I wanted to do, because people were like writing it on their arms. You would have men like writing the order on their arms, or they'd have a piece of paper on the bedside. And so we made this beautiful app, and then Hadij, even my husband, plays the gong for it.
I love it.
And so inside the app, the gong is automatically going, and the gong amplifies the space too. So it's just, you can turn it off if you want, but there's a timer, and you can spend as much time as you want on the moon center. But like the first one is breast. And then this thing comes down. And then it's beautiful in the bedroom. You have it in the bed, and you have this beautiful purple, and you have the gong playing. It just creates this a really special space.
Very
I was
tantric.
I was thinking this is so next level about like the babies that will be conceived.
Oh yeah.
Way to bring through the high souls. I mean, this is really
Yeah.
revolutionary.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really excited for women, and it's so funny. I've told the few guys I've told about this, they all have this reaction like, I don't need that. They're like, no.
Really?
Yes. And
oh my God.
I wasn't expecting that, because, I deal with Hadi Jivan and he's very like, let's do this, like there's not an ego there. Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then these men that I've told, they all have this reaction like, I don't need that. And I'm like, you do. You do. Like, I'm sure you're great at everything, but just add this. You're going to be even greater now. So that was interesting to me. I wasn't expecting that, but they're coming around.
I think that's so fascinating. I thought they would be like, oh my God, give me this map, this key to basically what you basically create is a tantric portal for the sexual experience with your partner, which every man should be like, yeah, Mandev, give it now. Like, do it. Like, but it's also like, I'm such a fan, and I'm so deeply grateful for all the work that you do, because with the Long Wool Mantra Mondays that you hold for all of us, and then with the My Moon app for the women, and your work is so deeply compassionate towards the self-empowerment of women, and I cannot express my gratitude enough for all that you do for us, because it's so special, and you're like
Oh,
like the
thank
best,
you.
like really,
Thank you.
so amazing.
I appreciate that so much. And I just love it. And I just basically want everyone to feel in their power. That's all. I mean, and feel good and happy. And like, this is how I've done it. This is how we can do it together. And so that's just important to me. And I didn't realize, like, with the moon center, so the My Moon Map's the tracking one, and the Moon Me Lover, I call it guided yogic foreplay.
I love it.
I guess they don't like the word sex on Instagram. So now we had to change intimacy app and guided yogic foreplay. So that's what we'll call it.
That's
cool.
Great. Yeah.
But like it's just, women should know, like, it's my mission, it feels like, to have women just in their power. It's like, you have all of this hard drive space, all this RAM, you got to use it. And so that's sort of what I want. It's been shut down forever, since like before Mary Magdalene days, so this is very much being activated onto the planet at this time, and it's only going to increase. And so we're very much the pioneers of this moon center technology. So I'm really grateful to anybody and everybody who will just learn about it. And I don't even care if somebody doesn't want to track it, if they don't care about it at all, but if they just know, I feel emotional, it might be my moon center, not me. That in itself is everything.
Yeah,
that knowledge, so because there's not that blame where something's wrong with me, I'm upset for no reason.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And it gives a great opportunity to create more distance between the physical body entity that we currently are hosted in, and the actual I, the more etheric, more infinite, the soul, basically, right? It's like,
yeah,
I can see that, like, if this would be taught in schools to girls and boys, that the boys have, like, can you then later say the boys moon center, because I think it's important for them to understand why they should have beards. I love this.
Yeah, well, the moon, so for men or boys, their moon center's on the chin. And so sort of the teaching is that if they have hair on the chin, it stabilizes the mood of the person. So, but it's very much up to them, because some men are like, I don't want to have hair on my chin, you know, so that's fine.
Yeah.
But like, if you meet a guy and he's very emotional, which there's some men like that, maybe it's like, hey, maybe try growing a goatee or whatever it is, and see if that stabilizes your mood.
Mm-hmm. That's so interesting, because I think also men need to know these teachings, and not because they're um they suffered. I think we all suffered in the past 2000 years a lot. The masculine in its very destructive role of protecting, and the feminine in being like this, in the destructive energy of the masculine. So they're both suffering, and so to have the opportunity in school or somewhere, oh God, I'm sorry, the dog saw something. To have in schools the opportunity to give these teachings, so there is more calm and more peace for the girls to know that they're not wrong, that they're not crazy, that they're not lunatic, that they're not like doing anything wrong, but it's just like more distance between the emotion and the I and the body, like that there's like three entities. I think that's brilliant.
I think I love how you say there's more distance, because when you're really upset, you feel like this, like the emotion in you, like
You're
you feel
triggered,
like you feel like you are that upsetness, you are that anger, and it's hard to feel separate. But going through this process, slowly you become more detached from any negative emotion. And then once there's space in between you and that emotion, then you can be like, you know, I don't have to experience this. I can choose a different experience.
Yes.
So instead of choosing upsetness, anger, I'm going to choose joy and happiness. Right. But that requires some energy to make that switch. And that's what we're working towards.
So great.
Is there one like teaching or practice that you could share, maybe it's top of mind, to balance your experience of your moon centers, or if you find that you're on the negative polarity of it, like, you know, just to go to switch to the positive side of it?
Yeah, well, there's the meditation to balance the moon centers that for women only. So you practice that in bed, right? So what you do is you get in bed, you say Ong Namo Gurudev Namo, Ong Namo Gurudev Namo, Ong Namo Gurudev Namo, right? And then you lay on the mattress, you put the chin on the mattress, and then you have the arms like this alongside the body. And then my palms are facing up, and I'm going to chant mentally, right? Mentally, yeah. Sa ta na ma, sa ta na ma, mentally. And you just do that a few rounds. And what that does is it balances everything, it balances the emotions, and it's deeply relaxing. So I've heard several women who had trouble sleeping, and they started doing this just in few rounds, and then they would go into a deep, relaxing sleep. So that's very powerful. So I would say do that. And if anybody wants it, you can email me and I'll give it to you, the meditation. And then the other one is, I would just say going to any Kundalini yoga class, doing any type of pranayama, meditation. I'm really into working the body. Like you have to work the body, and you have to sweat, and you have to have a strong physical connection to the physical body. So anything like that where you can add energy to your system, that will give you the strength to move past it.
Cool. Thank you for that. I do remember I used to practice that a bit, and it's been a real long while. So thank you. I'm gonna get back to it.
Yay.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And it only takes like a second. So
Yeah,
like if you have if you have plans for, you know, your bedtime, you have a special guest with you, or your partner, you just say, hey babe, you hang there for 1 second. I'll be right with you. And then just do satanama, satanama, satanama. Do it 3 times, and then continue your nightly activities.
Awesome. Yeah, it can be super, super simple.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Love that. It's so brilliant.
Well, just see what it does. And also like,
Yes.
don't take my word for it. Anybody, you just practice it.
Experience it.
Experience it. If it doesn't work for you, then don't do it. But it will work. I know it will work. And then like this is how the app. So after you go through all the 9 moon centers on the Moon Me Lover app, there'll be a chime, which I recorded Hadi Jeevan chiming.
Love it.
That will move you on to the next moon center. And then after you stimulate all 9 moon centers, then you'll see this. 1 second. You'll see ready for intercourse.
Oh, that's amazing. I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's when it's the intercourse can happen after the woman, her aura is handled with care, as they say.
I love it. I love it. This is revolutionary.
I mean, it's amazing. It is amazing. I mean, I am so happy about this app. Like because if you're having a sexual exchange with somebody, you should get as much energy out of it as you can. Like, it's a very powerful way. And the reason why everybody loves sex so much is because you get to experience a part of the infinite. Like, you get that infinite connection through sex. And that's why everybody likes it, because there's a chance to connect with your higher self, and you can do it through that. So if you can just add this to your routine or whatever it is you like to do, you go into these deeply cosmic realms that you didn't even know existed. And it opens up this orgasmic space. And what's not to like about that? And then you can make a lot of shifts in that space, changes in that space. So it's very, very powerful, and anybody can do it. Anybody can access that. You just need it.
Yeah, go get that app, everybody.
Oh yeah, you have to.
I mean, I love it.
I think especially because that I read some couple of interesting books about the yogis in Tibet, which were in certain caves, which know of the tantric practices when it comes to also the tantric sexual practices. And I mean, this is basically the key to that, and you can just have it in an app where, other than that, people needed to like walk up the mountains, go in a cave, meditate for 52 years, and then have like the knowledge and so it's the accessibility of these high blue tantric teachings that you give all of us like constantly since years now is just beyond. Like I don't even have the words, but I hope someone can feel it. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel the same way. Thank you.
So amazing.
I feel like this is the paradigm shift, and the feminine paradigm shift and the feminine empowerment paradigm shift. This is a huge like foundational piece of it. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, in my opinion and my experience has been like, back like when Mary Magdalene, so you had Jesus, right? Who was a yogi. He had power of the Tetavas. The religion came 4 centuries later, right? He was a powerful yogi. And he was broadcasting a heart consciousness, right? But every energy field, there's a polarity. So there's male, female in every energy field. And so, there's a lot of different things that you can read about around this. But one school of thought, and, everybody should just have an open mind. But one school of thought is that Jesus, when he was leaving, his body, his intention, some say, was to have Mary Magdalene then take the ball forward, right? Broadcast the feminine side. But because of the times, that wasn't possible. So that feminine frequency had to go underground for a long time, right? It's a powerful frequency. And the planet Earth, we're still very much trying to unpack that heart space that the Jesus teacher gave, right? We're very much living inside that vibrational field still.
Yeah.
And so there's another side to that too.
Yeah.
And so my opinion is that energy went dormant for a long time. And part of this moon centers coming out now is that the frequency of the planet can handle it.
Yes.
Right. So you're having this feminine awakening around just females. And then it's also the feminine side's awakening in males too.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Very
Big
much
time.
so.
Very,
Very
very
much
much.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see that as well. I think what I would be interested in, I know you have to leave in like 2 minutes, but maybe as a closing question, if we can, what do you wish for the next 50 years that to come when it comes to your work in general? Like not specifically only the moon centers, but if it's that, it's that.
I mean, I think I would love to hear about moon centers the way you hear about chakras. Right. And I would love for it to be included in the curriculum in schools. Right.
Yeah.
So everybody just grows up knowing this, because if I grew up knowing about this, I think I would have had a much more elevated childhood, right? More confidence, everything would have been completely different. So it's sort of my wish that little girls grew up with this, right? Because if women are the source of power, they regenerate, a woman can break a generation or make a generation, right? So if women know about this, our world will just get better. I mean, it will just be more lovely, right? Women growing up with this, broadcasting it, teaching it, living it, vibrating it, projecting it, holding it. They'll raise better men. Men will respond to women differently. Like, to me, it's the key to everything. And so that's sort of like my prayer and my intent, working in this way.
Love it.
Beautiful. That's so
Thank you so
inspiring.
much.
Thank you so much.
And I love your podcast. I love what you two are doing so much. And I'm
Thank
very
you.
honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. Well, find the replay. We'll be posting it soon on Spotify and YouTube, and also here on Instagram. So thank you everybody for joining us. And thank you so much, Mandev. We really
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Mandev.
Thank you so much.
You're the best.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.